I bought this whole 12-speed mountain bike drivetrain from AliExpress for £130. Is it a bargain, or do you buy cheap, buy twice? So full disclosure, neither Zitto or AliExpress have paid us to do this. We've used our own money to buy this kit because I'm a bit nerdy and I want to find out if this ultra low sticker price Groupset is actually any good or if it's a waste of money. But before I continue, I've got a favour to ask. Can you hit that subscribe button, share and like this video? It definitely helps us out. So if you have a look at the Zitto storefront on AliExpress, there are loads of different options, including components. Like there's a stem for 80p, less than £1. To drop a post lever for £1.81, seems like a random price, but every pence matters at that price, I suppose. And there's lots of different options for drivetrains in different colours, different speeds. So we bought this very fetching gold and black option for, like I say, around £130. And there's even options within that. So for bottom bracket, there's either a press fit or a BSA option, which is the one I chose. So threaded external cups. But the fitment, like I say, it wasn't exactly perfect. It comes with this XC crank, so it's actually for a triple chainring on there. There are single options, but only as a separate, not as a whole package drivetrain. So when it comes to fitting the bottom bracket and getting the chain line right, I've had to do a bit of bodging. So I've actually had to put 2 spaces behind the drive side cup of the bottom bracket to give me enough space, because otherwise that chainring is touching the chainstay. And I've got that chainring in what would be the middle ring position, because on the outer one, the chain line was crazy. In fact, that way around, because I couldn't actually get into the lowest sprocket on the cassette, the chain would literally fall off. So I've had to space it that way on the cranks and then that way with the bottom bracket. So the chainring is now clearing the chainstay, but still the chain line is still pretty extreme. So it's not wanting to sit in that lowest gear very well. It is working, but you know when you can hear it clicking, like the friction between it is not brilliant. Although I've got to say, you know, this bottom bracket, the bearings feel absolutely fine. You can buy that bottom bracket separately for around £8. So that feels to me like, how can you go wrong with that if you can get your cranks to fit it? So it's a cable actuated rear mech, so really simple to fit. You don't get a cable end in the pack, so that is going to frail me. I didn't have one spare in the van. All relatively simple to set up. Well, in fact, really easy. B-screw, the limits on the high and low, really simple, and they work, and it looks straight. I will say that cable angle, so when it's in your highest gear, so with the slack on the cable almost, that is quite an extreme angle over to that fixing point for the rear cable. But other than that, it looks okay. And yeah, the clutch, I would say, so that's how you actuate it there. That's clutch off, that's clutch on. It's very minimal what effect that is having. The chain is only actually 3 grams heavier than the Shimano M6100 one that came off it. But I've got to say, it looks very nice, but I'm not sure it feels that great. I'm surprised actually how easy the roller fell out of the middle of the chain when I was putting the quick link together, which works. Interestingly enough, there isn't a direction on there, which you do find on most quick links. There isn't one. Who knows what that means? But yeah, it doesn't feel that solid, but we shall find out. I'll put some watts through it and see what happens. The chainring is an aluminium narrow wide design, 32 teeth on this one. It's 104 BCD, so fits most mountain bike cranks. Looks okay. I've got to say I've pedalled about half a mile in the dry on a brand new drivetrain, and some of the anodizing is coming off it already, so I'll see what happens at the end of the day. The shifter is micro new MX12, 12 speed of course, is super plasticky, and it does not play ball with these Shimano levers, especially the way I set them up. They might work for other people, but obviously you have this gear indicator which is massively wide, so it won't fit in this gap, so I have to run it the inboard of my brake levers, and I cannot reach it. Where I'm riding along, I actually have to move my grip on the bar and move my hand grip on the bar to reach that shifter. and it feels really lightweight and plasticky. It works, but also the action. So it feels to me like an old school Shimano rapid fire when they first brought those levers out. So go into lower gears, simple enough, but then going back to the high gears, you have to pull it towards the bar. So you have to reach around with your finger and hit it, and I basically cannot reach it at all. It's got sort of tucked in right behind that lever. So it doesn't work very nicely. With modern Shimano levers, you can sort of just hit that any way you want and it will shift. So that is the weakest link so far. But I think I should jump on the bike and put some miles on it. So the shifter is annoying, I've got to say. Having to completely move my grip on the bars when I want to shift doesn't work when you're going through jumps where I want to click down a gear midway. I have to let go of the bar and go over, so that's annoying. But also, there's a real resistance when you go to getting up into that 52 tooth. The shifter, it just goes rock solid. So it feels like you're pushing against the limit screw on the rear mech, but it's not, I can see. In fact, it's really simple to undo that limit screw by hand. I don't need my Allen key, I just wind it back off. So I can see there is room for the rear mech to move, but the shifter feels like it's completely hitting a limit. So you have to really force it up into that 52 tooth. And then that added with the chain line, I can hear the chain rubbing, like it feels like I'm gonna snap it if I pedal too hard. So even if I don't, the wear on that chain is going to be pretty extreme with those forces. That chain angle don't feel great. But also when I come out of that lowest gear, again, there's loads of resistance. Like it's a really harsh click down that first one, but then in the next 11 gears, it's smooth and it's fine. As much as it does feel really plasticky, and if you pushed it too hard, you'd probably snap that lever off. Felt my cranks lock mid-air, so it didn't feel very good. And the chain has gone backwards, which is weird because I don't remember backpedaling. I must have a little bit, and it's stuck to the chain ring and it's got wedged down in that chainstay and has scratched the hell out of my chainstay. So that wasn't great. You can see it's just popped out, but it's done a lot of damage to my fresh new Canyon Stoic, which I'm a bit gutted about. Don't know why it would have done that. Obviously try not to back pedal, or maybe I did between corners. And if I spin it back, oh yeah, there you go, it's sticking, the chain is sticking to the chain ring. So it's all fresh, I've not done anything, actually with the new SRAM or Shimano chain, I often actually spray some degreaser on it. It comes with that really sticky, kind of waxy lube on there, and I normally get rid of that, and then I put the chain on, dry it again, and then stick my own lube on it. So this has got the factory lube on it, which doesn't feel anywhere near as thick and as sticky as that stuff you do get. But it's starting to go a bit dirty and black. Obviously, it's a really dry day, so it's only picking up a bit of dust. And yeah, it's I've got a bit of a swarf off my frame there, in my finger, but that is sticking to the chain ring more than I would expect. Down to the rear derailleur, so it's working. Like I said already, the clutch works pretty well. It's adjustable, it shifts cleanly. It seems really unusual to me to be able to undo and do up the limit screws by hand. There's no way you'd be able to do that with a Shimano or a SRAM rear mech. What does that mean? Do they come with Loctite from factory? I don't know. I've never actually noticed. Need to have a closer look. But obviously you could add Loctite to these because they're definitely going to back off. I've had B screws back off on downhill bikes before, so I would definitely do that to these to begin with. But does that also tell you something about the tolerances for this? Does it mean that these are already a bit sloppy? I mean, that is moving around. I don't know what that's actually fastening into, but that is wobbling quite a lot. So I would expect that to really move around without doing anything to it. Longevity of rear mech, I can't comment on that, but at the moment it is working. Obviously the ergonomics of that shifter, I don't really like, I think I've made that clear, but kind of annoyingly, I took off a Dior shifter that uses that I-spec from Shimano to mount really nicely underneath the lever. So these companies have thought about how to get their levers to work nicely with dropper posts and shifters to not only make them look good, but also get them in the exact right position with loads of adjustability as well, because not everyone likes their levers like I do, sort of quite far along the bar, but that doesn't work. But probably worth mentioning that at the lower end of SRAM, their SX does not have their matchmaker system. It's actually like a band clamp, although you do not have that gear indicator on there, so it is much easier. And do you need a gear indicator? I would argue probably not. But actual performance-wise, in the middle of the cassette, it works pretty darn well, to be fair. Obviously, when I get up to these low gears, I've said already about the chain line, makes everything feel like there's a load of friction in the system. But in the middle, where the chain line's straight and you've got these ramps on the cassette, it shifts surprisingly quick. It's not as smooth or as fast as the SRAM transmission, obviously, which is, you know, way more expensive, different price level to this. But even Shimano with their Hyperglide and their Plus as well, where you've got ramps up and down, it's not as fast and as smooth as that, but it's perfectly okay. You can see all the ramps on these sprockets if you look closely, except for the 11, just everything else does have them. Obviously, when you're shifting, the idea is you're supposed to back off the power on any, you know, even the fanciest new transmission. It's always a good idea to lift the power to get a clean shift, but also save your chain as well, because that is culprit number one of snapping chain, is trying to do it under full power. I will try and test it with a bit more power. I don't have massive watts, as you may not be shocked to find out, but I'll give it a go. I'll have to retrain my brain, because after, you know, many years of mountain biking, I've almost learned to do this genetically, is to back off a little bit. But let's try and put it to the test and see if I can snap a chain. Right, I will apply the brakes and see how horrible I can get a shift. Well, it's a fairly unreasonable test. I mean, I do that occasionally, sometimes when we're filming, I actually go down, turn around and come back up straight away to get another shot. So it's not unusual for me to actually be a bit ruthless with drivetrain. That sounded okay, but if you take a close look, that chain is now sat in between two of the sprockets. So I have bent this sixth one down this way. So I don't exactly know how I've done that, but the cassette is kaput. Maybe I can bend it back, I don't know. AliExpress on the whole, it always seems kind of a bit mystical to me. You kind of don't know much about it, but this works. The shipping was free, it was quick, we had tracking. It's probably worth mentioning as well that obviously I fitted the kit myself, but if you bought this kit as a cheap way of maintaining your bike and then you took it to a shop to be fitted onto your bike, I'm not sure how well that would go down, because obviously the shop haven't supplied the parts, they don't know anything about them, they probably won't have dealt with them before. Most shops obviously supply and fit the kit as well, which is how they make a bit of their money. But yeah, I don't know about liabilities and things like that. If a shop fits this kit and they think, well, that chain isn't looking that great, and you go outside and you snap a chain and have an accident, yeah, I'm not sure how a shop would react to you coming with this stuff, but I'd be interested to know if anyone's got any experience of that. Jump in the comments down below. So we found the factory website for the Zitto products, and on there is no mention of warranty, which is definitely worth mentioning, because obviously I've bought this from AliExpress, not from a shop. My cassette is now broken. So I don't know where I'll be at if it came to getting that replaced. I have a funny feeling that I find that quite hard. Obviously, your SRAMs, your Shimanos are great big companies. They do have warranty, and yes, both of them have had issues in recent years with product recalls, but that does tell you that they stand by their products and they're willing to look after the consumer. I've got to say on AliExpress as well, some of the products you see there are stepping very close or over some of the IP of other products out there, some brands. So I would be cautious about the brand names you're buying off AliExpress. There are some Shimano branded stuff that seem too good to be true. It looks really, really cheap. So be wary of that as well. From my job here at GMBN, I've definitely witnessed a lot of R&D, whether it be on the racetrack with the highest level products to in the factories, how things are produced. And I have seen how that can trickle down to the lower end parts as well. So it's not to say that is all high end, super expensive stuff. You do see it on the Diors, the SX, the NX, things like that, all that trickle down technology. So you do benefit from a lot of R&D from those big companies. In conclusion, do I think this Groupset is a bargain? Well, when I was fitting it, I was subtly impressed. I think, all went together nicely. It's, yes, possibly a bit heavy, but it goes together nice. And it shifted nice in the bike stand. It shifted nice on the trail. However, now after riding it, I'm definitely sliding down the scale to, I think it could be a waste of money. Buy cheap, buy twice might be the saying that, it works here. It depends what you're bolting this onto. Are you bolting it onto your commuter where you're replacing a worn out kit and you know that you're not really going to test its longevity, you're not going to be shifting really hard, you don't mind a little bit of discomfort moving your hand shifting, then it could be a good option. But now I've put it on a mountain bike and I've seen its limitations. I'm not that impressed. Is it down to the materials, the tolerances not being that great? I think it probably is a bit of that all added together. It's worth mentioning as well that this cassette fits a Shimano HG driver, and you may have noticed my wheels don't match because actually, with the latest kit that we ride, there aren't many bikes or wheels that you can come standard with HG driver. Yes, you could probably buy one to fit the wheel that you have, but a lot of people these days have microspinal XD drivers, even from the sort of mid-market up. So it's not necessarily going to be a straight bolt-on for a lot of people. If you choose to get your Groupset off AliExpress, it's got to be said that getting spares for this isn't going to be as easy as walking into your local bike shop. You're going to have to go down the AliExpress route again, which of course is cheap, and our stuff showed up nice and timely. However, it does seem like the returns process is slightly more engaging if you do need to send stuff back. But let me know if you've ever bought stuff off AliExpress. Has it worked for you? Obviously, I cannot comment on the longevity, really. Other cassette has not lasted me a day. If it lasts a decent amount of miles, if your chain is going to stretch, I can't comment on, but I'll be really interested to know if you have any experience with this. So jump into the comments and let me know if your bargain Groupset has been a bargain or if it's been a waste of money.